players in this sociolinguistic pantomime? We don't care. Every word is important. A translator, interpreter, translator's first duty is to ask, and this goes back to the debate that we didn't finish with David, what would be happening now if these people shared a language? And we must do everything we can to restore that experience to them. That's it. We don't care about the words. I mean, this is the biggest section, I know it's very tedious. They tend to assume that technical terms are all equally understood by all members of the speech community. Well, that's a laugh. Our biggest client is Ford. We're in the middle of a 6-year project. The most superior governing document is called the PDL. Okay? I asked some people, what does it stand for? I got Program Direction Letter, Product Direction Letter, and Product Definition Letter. What a joke. Then I got hold of the PDL. 2 of those variants appear in the text. Mr. Ford can't even get it right. So, clearly clients are not competent to define what a technical term is. We are. So here goes. Every term, phrase, or linguistic feature has currency. Currency means that if 2 people ask what a word in a given context means, they will both have an answer, and the 2 answers will be sufficiently similar that they are able to achieve their communicative aims by using that word without self-referential adjustment, or what Nakane-san sensei called repair. Like saying, what do you mean? Hang on, we're talking cross purpose. The currency of some words might extend to the entire language. That's unlimited. But it is the words and other parts of language whose currency is limited to smaller speech communities that we need to understand. A speech community might be a generation, a township, an industry, a company in that industry, a division or plant or class of people within that company, a group of them involved in a particular project, or a handful of them involved in a particular conversation in that project where they've just invented a word. The limitation of currency, especially if it falls below the threshold of publishing economics, in other words, no dictionary will tell you what it means, is a matter of professional interest to translators. It's true. It makes our job difficult. But they're not necessarily technical terms. They are identified as such by technical people who feel chuffed that they share an adjective with something that might confound the interpreter. But they're not technical. To sum this section up, there is only the weakest correlation between what a non-translator can identify as a technical term and terms and other features of language with limited currency, which is relevant to our work. Number 3. It's really the only thing they ever say. I actually asked myself, why is it the only thing that they ever mention? And then I realised it's the only thing for which they have a direct analogous experience. They're all the funny words that their wives don't understand. So they think, okay, words are like, they're in-group markers. And at social events, Christmas parties, where they sit around in groups talking shop, the outsiders, the spouses and so on, tilt their heads and look quizzical and don't know what's going on. They think, oh, that must be what it's like for a translator. But funnily enough, their interest only extends to us knowing what it means in English. They never really talk about, well, now having said that, how do you translate it? So that's another limitation on their understanding. Now, I keep using the word difficult. What is difficulty? Difficulty, as I define, are all the attributes of the text or speech that govern the time required to achieve 100% quality, or alternatively, the quality possible within a given time frame. Yeah? So let's imagine, when I say, I'll just say 100% quality, I mean that it can't, I don't mean that it can't be improved. I mean that further improvement will not reward someone in business. Other tasks will become more, eventually there's a diminishing return, you have to say, no, that's, and that assumes many resources, plenty of time. Yeah? And also, 100% quality, there's not just one string of words that satisfies that, of course there's always more. So, now let's imagine a sentence, 100 words long. Could be hard, could be easy. Let's imagine a real easy one. One that you could translate perfectly in 41 seconds. See, that's how long a simultaneous interpreter would take. People speak about 150 words per second. There's about a 1 second lag. So 100 words, 40 seconds, 41 seconds. Now let's imagine another sentence that's a bit harder, but still easy enough for someone working consecutively. 80 seconds to translate 100 words. Now imagine someone who sat in a solicitor's office with a power of attorney and saying, please translate for the client. Will you come back when you're ready? And 1,000-word document, and let's say they take 2 hours. They have taken 12 minutes to translate 100 words. Now the interpreters are under a time constraint. They can't negotiate. They have to hand back what they've got. But can I just point out that not every sentence is that easy. In fact, most of them are harder. Inevitably, if they have to hand back a harder one, it will not be 100% quality. Now let's imagine a translation. 6,700 words, and let's say you do it in, I don't know, 2 weeks. That translates, that converts to 92 minutes per 100 words. That's just to illustrate difficulty, ease and difficulty. Here's the relationship. There is a relationship between the quality achievable and the difficulty of the sentence or the utterance and the time to do that. If it's more difficult, inevitably you need to spend more time on it. If it's less, you can do it pretty quickly. Time is clearly an important resource, but you need people with core skills like transfer competence, ancillary skills like research and editing and checking and client management and all that sort of thing. But the more difficult a sentence or utterance, the longer it will take. Or the lower the quality you have to give back to the client. I've heard people dispute this. I've heard some people self-described as conference interpreters say that their translations could be improved. This can't be true. Because if it is, they would put you all out of work. If all you do is written translation, all the people who predominantly work in written mode would suddenly be unable to compete. Simply by engaging a typist to record the brilliant conference interpreter as they heard and translated any document that we chose to have translated. And everyone in the $12 billion global translation industry who has ever taken up the time to look up words, consult with colleagues, review and have reviewed their drafts with a view to further editing and polishing would suddenly be shown to be the incompetent and unprincipled rip-off artists that they must be. The time to produce a perfect translation or the quality achievable within a given time frame varies from sentence to sentence in every text and discourse. Oh, sorry. If you are working simultaneous interpreter, that's roughly the quality you're going to achieve, given a variation of difficulty. Consecutive, the level goes up. If you've got weeks to do it, obviously you're going to do a very good translation. And this slide was meant to go over the comment about you're all out of work. Now, in a job, as you move through a document and you're presented with each sentence, or as interpreter, you're in a dialogue or a speech and each sentence is presented to you, they can vary wildly in degree of difficulty. So let's have a look at the course of a job as we move through it. See here, this is the course of time as we're moving through the dialogue or the text. And each of these sentences differ in how difficult they are. In other words, how much time we would need, ideally, to bring them up to 100% completion. This is quality, yeah? And this is the course of time through a job, through a text. And this is the time it would take for each one of those sentences to be translated. If we are limited to consecutive interpreting, then inevitably quality of our work will be, sorry, my animation's taken over. There. If we're in the booth, the same set of sentences is going to be there. If we're translating them, they're going to be up there. I can't see how the quality of translation could be magically immune from this relationship between resources and time that is every other modern product is subject to. Anyway, having established a relationship between these things, what is difficulty? What are the attributes of text or speech that slow us down? Part of my reaction, my despair, is that the only thing that they can see is this one little thing and they don't see all the others. Now, I've got a list here that I'm going to show you. It's not the definitive list. I'm not saying you can't change the order and you've probably got your own list, but I've been through a lot of our work and looked at it and said, why did it take so long? Or conversely, why did we do such a shit job? Here's my list. Ellipsis is top of the list for me. It's the deliberate omission or the unconscious omission of information that the speaker or writer assumes the reader or listener already has. Now, it's not a bad thing. Ellipsis is what we call the natural tendency of everyone to economise in communication and not provide too much or too little information. But it's a matter of professional concern to translators because we arrive by a very unorthodox route in the speech community. We do not turn up with the entitlement to contextual knowledge that other members of that speech community have earned through some sort of initiation process, and it takes time. Basically, we get called the night before, we're not like that. So it is a big problem for us. Poor quality source language, well, we've already covered that. Of course, it is a huge thing. People, the time it takes to work out ambiguity, poor or incorrect pronunciation, hesitation, typos, inability to spell or use punctuation, fragments, unresolved ideas, lack of internal consistency. We've got to understand before we can translate. Grammatical complexity. This would be changes of mood, tense, voice, aspect, or register within the sentence or utterance. Wide displacement of verb and object. Lists where each item on the list has a long modifying clause attached. Lexical density. Total number of words divided by total number of unique words. Clearly that makes your brain work harder if you have to process more new words in the one sentence. Limited currency. Down here, maybe I've tailored this to suit my little presentation, but really, that's a minor issue compared to these. And in here we find technical terms, along with proper nouns, acronyms, all sorts of things like that. Self-reference I will put on the list as well. Anything to do with reported speech or quoted text, puns, plays on words, inquiring into the nature, history or effect of particular, anything meta-linguistic basically. Now I'm sure there's others. I'm sure this list can be adjusted. It changes from job to job and sentence to sentence. But I'm also sure that lay people don't know what they're talking about when they try to double guess the nature and level of my workload. Now this rather tedious discussion of the concept of difficulty, the various elements that make our work more or less difficult, I think are an important form of basic theoretical knowledge that we have to carry with us all the time, at our fingertips, ready to counter every silly thing that a client might say. And this is the stuff I've developed. You know, you might have other stuff to add to this or alternatively, but you've got to have a theoretical basis if we are to offer a professional response to amateur ideas. Number 5. Here's another thing that kills me. Technical terms are the easiest words to learn. Look at this. This is a little snapshot of a corpus analysis we did. 4,000 words of medical patent and telecommunications patent. We highlighted all the technical terms. 4,000 words, how many technical terms? 125. 123 of them are nouns or noun phrases. Nouns are the easiest words to learn. They're usually the name of a thing you can point at. And here's another thing. Of all things that slow us down, ambiguity. Technical terms, by definition, have specific, limited meaning. Like, if you're ploughing through a text or a speech and you come to a word which is liable to more than one interpretation, that is time-consuming or, synapse-consuming work. Which one is it? If you know exactly what it means, you don't even think about it. It becomes like the icons in, Microsoft Office. You don't think about what it does, you react animalistic. That's a technical term. It's easy. Once learned, they're known. So number 6. Learning new words probably does seem to be a difficult task if you don't do it very often, like a normal grown-up. When clients say it must be very hard for you because of the difficulties, I don't think it's occurred to them that this is an everyday problem for us. And we have long since developed the methods and the strategies required to research and master a long list of new and obscure terms. It's a very basic skill. We do it on our ear. Number 7. I'm not very proud of this one, but let's face it, in Japanese and English, technical terms are more likely to be intelligible in katakana, so that's an easy out. Number 8, actual workload. Getting back to my frustration. Technical terms would be the most difficult thing for a translator if there was no such thing as sentences. If everyone in the world only ever uttered one word at a time, then yes, we would be in trouble. But that is not how the world or language works. Individual words are like Schrödinger's cat. They actually don't mean anything until they have a context, until they combine with other linguistic elements functionally to create an utterance or something with a message. Then our work starts. In that text we analysed above, less than 4% of all the words were so-called technical terms. And this is solid stuff, very technical. Do they honestly think that the other words don't impose a cognitive burden on us? So here's my favourite example. I was working at Holden, the engine plant, one day, and so we're trying to fix this machine that drills holes through the crankshaft. A very complicated bit of machine, very technical. Anyway, they found an oil leak and they don't want to pull it apart because they'll lose a whole shift of work. They're trying to work out, by looking at the drawings, what's gone wrong here. So I had to do this sentence. And this was a conversation I had with a client, and I said, no, listen, have a look at this. Imagine that an interpreter had a little dial on their head showing how hard they're working. Okay? Let's have a look at the sentence, shall we? This is the sentence that I had to translate this day. What? Is he saying that if we connected the air to the pipe, which should have been supplying the head, according to what it shows in the drawings we got this morning, even though we now know that they're out of date because they don't reflect the changes, then we'd probably see air coming out of here. Isn't that a ripper? Let's look at the Japanese now. To you know what? And he's saying,彼が言ってるのはそれですからが the end don't forget that. Okay, パイプに接続するのか、それでどのパイプですか、そっか、図面通りの、その図面についてですが、gone off on a tangent here, gotta remember that 言ってるとか。Okay, don't forget to put in おそらく。Okay, let's watch the little guy's face. Took me hours to do this. Okay, ready? Yeah, no problem, I can handle this. Yeah. Easy peasy. Yeah, okay, here's something else coming up. I think I can do it. Yes! Bang! That's a hard sentence. That's hard work. That's why we get paid. And it's invisible to them. What's the worst that can happen though? Really? Let's imagine the first time client and the first time Dave used an interpreter. Standing in a room, all these highly expectant people, including bilingual ones with technical qualifications. Dr. Katamari speaks pretty good English. Suddenly a technical term appears, you don't know what it is. End of world? Well, it depends on why I'm there. Have they engaged my professional services to test my knowledge of a list of words? I think it's probably because they had something more interesting and profitable to do, like negotiate a contract, follow up a late order, take a medical history, install a bit of equipment, try a criminal. So they're all standing around saying, feeling embarrassed. Oh my God, I've never used an interpreter. This is a wrong idea, just doesn't know the words, we should have got Dr. Katamari to do it because he speaks pretty good English, In the time they're thinking that, I will solve the problem. You know what? Because I'm the only person in the room competent to do it, and the only person in the room paid to do it. While they're thinking that, I will go, stop, wait, you. I need to understand in order to communicate that word. You have no idea what it means. What does it mean? Explain more. Yeah, more. Okay, can you draw a picture? Can you point to it? Is that it? Okay, I've got that. Wait there. Go to the target language community. Say, they're using this word. I don't know what it is. Sorry, first day. What is it? It looks like this. You call it. Oh, you do call it that. Okay, do you call it anything else? Okay, that's the full list of things you call it. Great. There. Total time elapsed, 20 seconds. Dr. Katamari, you know how long it would take him to learn to do this? 20 years. That's how long it took me after I became fluent in a second language. Number 10, last one. Bring up for time.
Yes. Yeah, we just 30 seconds to go.
You must find it difficult. This won't take long. It's more than a cry for help. It's a challenge. Words are tools with which we define ourselves. We use them to erect fortifications around our identity. We set up barricades that clearly define the group of people who shared our journey, our hardships, and who now share the privilege of understanding our highly elliptic utterances. And it excludes those who don't. These are badges of honour, which more or less apply to everyone to some degree, and it's a mark of civilised society to respect those boundary markers, to leave words well alone that don't belong to your group. Everyone understands this and takes care not to use words to which they are not in some way entitled by occupation, familiarity, some initiation. This is normal behaviour for people. Conversely, it's highly aberrant behaviour to ignore these conventions. Most people take great care in the observation of these socio-linguistic conventions for fear of rejection or ridicule as a fake or a wannabe, simply a loony. When people suggest that technical terms make our work very difficult, it clearly hasn't occurred to them that translators might be loonies. And by this definition, we are. We do something incredibly confronting and unheard of in normal society. Not only do we know best how to define them, not only do we know how to master them in a short space of time, how to manage them in the context of all our other difficulties, more than anything else, we will use them. We will march in over their little territorial markers, wipe our muddy boots all over their stupid university degree, we'll use the damn words at them. It never occurs to them that you can do that. How many times have we gone on a job and we've been very unflattered? It's always a good sign if they say, so you're an engineer, you've got an engineering background. And you know what, all I did was use some words. You know, if I just built a bridge, I could get it. Oh, you're an engineer, like the bridge, right? All you have to do is say camber and deflection as though you know what they mean, and they think you're an engineer. Words are magic. They're voodoo. And people do not know how to deal with people who don't buy into that. That's us, right?
Yes.
We use their words because we're paid to. And if we don't get paid, our children starve. And if we don't use their words and take the money anyway, we're thieves. And that sets out for me my daily overriding professional imperatives and ethical obligations. People who like me call me passionate. Everyone else calls me a pain in the ass. Whatever. This is stuff that I do in my business, and if it helps your business, I'm happy. Thank you very much.
Did I tell you he'd be entertaining? We actually have come up to time.
No questions. Here's my name and address. Please write to me. No. Do we have questions? No.
No? Do we have questions?
Why didn't you take our back pic, Chris?
He did, he's an interpreter.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. Do you have a question?
What do you think of clients who help the translators out by providing glossaries?
That's great. No, you can't have too much information. No, that's fine. I am a little bitter and
Since
twisted.
they use the glossaries provided rather than some other term.
Oh, I've never been in that situation. No, sorry.